Great. So we will be painting this abstract landscape today. This is a very different kind of art form than the usual ones that I do. And the medium that I'll be using is gouache. So you can also use acrylic paints or poster paints as well if you don't have gouache. The procedure is very similar. You just have to layer down the paints. And I'll be using this sketchbook. This is an A6 size sketchbook from Zen Sangam, and it is their spiral watercolor notebook. And I'll be using this one. You can use anything of around 200 GSM or more than that. And for brushes, I'll be using size 8 filbert brush and size 4 round brush. And just for the details, like the smaller trees, I'll be using a smaller size brush. A size 4 round brush will do. So I'll just take a masking tape and tape down the edges. If you wish to keep it as it is, then you can. I like to have clean edges, so I'll just tape down the borders using a masking tape. All right, so I'll just show you the reference ones. So this is the painting that we will be making. So I'll start by sketching out the entire scenery. Usually I don't draw, but for this one, because this is an abstract painting and just for reference, it will be better if you just draw the entire thing. So I'll start by making the mountains and the sun. Just make random mountains. And for the sun, I'll just take my sellotape and I'll just trace it. I'll keep the sellotape like this and I'll trace the inner circumference. All right, I just smudged a little bit of pencil here, but it's okay because we'll be using gouache, and gouache is an opaque medium, so it's okay. We will cover it. So I'll be using tube gouache paints. You can use acrylic paints as well. So I'll start by making the sky first. So for that, I'll use, so this is a very pastel peach sort of color. So to make this, you just need a vermilion shade. I hope you are aware of this red shade. This is called vermilion, and I'll take this shade and I'll mix it with white, and to make it a light peach color. So I'll just take my palette and I'll squeeze out a little bit of the vermilion shade, and I'll take white. Going to make pastel peach sort of shade for the sky. I'll just take this pastel peach shade, and what I'll do is I'll start painting the sky free-handedly. You can use, I'm using a round brush just to trace this part, and then I'll use a filbert brush to paint the rest of the painting. And then I'll just take thicker brush and I'll simply paint. This is not a mandatory step. I did this because this will just save up a lot of time. So you can just use a bigger brush to put on the paint. If you don't have this particular shade, then what you can do is just take the crimson red shade and mix a little bit of yellow to it, and just layer once again, and this time with more of the white paint, because so I'm done with painting the sky part. And for the sun, I'll take the same red shade, and the amount of white that I'll mix will be lesser than the one that I used for the background. Okay, so I'll just show you the shade once. So this is the shade that we'll be using. You can fill in the circle that we drew. So I hope you are done painting the sky. I will start mixing the colors for the mountain. So for the mountain, okay, great. For the mountain, what I'll do is just take any blue shade. It can be cobalt blue. It can be ultramarine blue as well. Just take a tiny bit of blue. Here I'm taking this shade called acid blue. This is basically a sky blue sort of shade, and I'll mix a lot of white to it, and I'll make it a pastel blue sort of shade. So taking the same brush, I just mix the shade. Don't mix too much of water. Can you see the consistency? This is the consistency that you need for the paint to be completely opaque. So just add a very little amount of water. Just the amount should be as much, like the paint should be flowy and not too much flowy. Your brush should glide onto the paper very smoothly, but it should not be too much watery. So that is how the opacity you will get the opacity like that. So I'll just take the shade and I'll start painting the mountain. I think abstract paintings are very therapeutic in general. Like this is a sort of gouache therapy instead. So it is very therapeutic, like just using the paint and gliding it onto the paper smoothly. It is very therapeutic. Now for the rest of the hills, what I'll do is I'll take a little bit of sap green shade. So simply increase the amount of green as we move nearer. So like for this hill, I'll just add more of the jade green shade. That's a deep green or poster green. Okay, like the shade name can be a little different, but this is just a dark green sort of shade. So any sort of green shade would. You see that I have taken a lot of paint in my brush. So this will just help in smooth gliding of the paint. In the reference, you can see that I used a light green shade for this hill, and for this one I used an olive green, and for this one I used a darker version of the olive green. So the shade that I'll be using for this hill is called grass green. This is the shade. The blue shade is darker than the first one, which you have done right now. Yes, the blue, the intensity of blue for this hill is a little more. So I hope you have this green already in your set. So this is the green shade that I'll be using. Light green. This is the shade called grass green. And I won't be mixing any other shade. I won't be mixing white to it. I'll just use the color as it is. I'll just mix a little bit of water just to make the paint a little flowy. And simply paint this hill. And I'll use an olive green shade green. Okay, and just mix a little bit of brown to it. Burnt umber would be better. Just a little bit of the shade and mix it, and you'll get olive green. This is the shade that we want. So this is olive green. Okay, I hope this is visible. The shade is visible now. Better. It's a darker olive green shade. For the nearest hill, what I'll do is just take the same olive green, a brownish, more of brownish olive green. Not really green, but brown, sort of brown. Just add more of burnt umber to it. Or you can use only brown shade. This is what I did. I just added more of the brown shade. And I'll use this shade for this hill. Now I'll just show you the reference once again. Can you see these small pine trees? And for painting these pine trees, I'll be taking the same olive green shade that we used for painting this hill. I won't be using any other color. You can also use black if you want, and I'll make the pine trees. Okay, if you have a detailer brush, then you can use that. I'll be using a size 4 round brush. Using the tip of the brush, I'll paint the tree. So just using short strokes, 2 or 3 more of these trees. The tree size a little more bigger if you want. Just paint the leaves using short strokes of paint and more trees if you want. I'll just paint 4 of these. Now for this tree, I'll use black paint only. So this is a tree silhouette. So I'll just take black paint and just tree that we have in the reference. I hope you are done up till this. Sure, I'll wait for a while. I'll start making the last tree. So what I'll do is I'll take the same brush that I used for making these trees, and I'll just draw a line using the tip of the brush like this. And I'll just little strokes of paint like this. Just make horizontal strokes of short strokes of paint for the leaves. Can you see the movement of the brush? This is how I'm painting. With this, we are done with the tree. I'll just add few highlights, sun and the mountains. And for that, I'll just use white paint. And it'll be better if you have a detailer brush like this. Size 0 detailer brush would do. Just make some highlights like this. Just add few highlights. You can also add birds if you wish. And you can also add few more trees if you wish. Thank you so much once again and have a great day.